r/askreddit. What is the greatest chicken? I'll do it myself in history.
In 1947, a guy named Thor Heyerdahl was trying to prove his theory that the Polynesian islands were settled by people from South America, not Asia. Not Asia. Nobody believed him because it was thought that crossing such a large ocean with the technology they had back then was impossible. So he decides to build a boat using only the tools and materials available at the time these migrations took place. And then he sailed that boat across the Pacific Ocean, nearly dying in the process, but ultimately making it to the Polynesian islands.
Maurice Hilleman invented over 40 vaccines during his career in the pharmaceutical industry. In 1963, his oldest daughter caught the mumps. He cultured a sample from her, developed a vaccine, and injected it into his younger daughter. That vaccine is still in use and has saved millions of lives. In total, it's estimated that his work has saved 118 million lives globally.
Nikola Tesla was tasked with lighting up the World's Fair, but Thomas Edison wouldn't allow him to use any of his patents, so Tesla had to invent a new light bulb that didn't use any of Edison's patents and could still have thousands made in time for the event.
John Snow, not that one, the father of epidemiology. No one believed him that the cholera outbreak in what is now Soho was because of a contaminated water pump. He broke it. They arrested him for vandalism and held him until the outbreak suddenly ended. Edit. Corrected the location.
Otis invented pretty much what we consider the modern elevator. Nobody was convinced it was safe, so he hoisted himself up extremely high and had somebody cut the cable with an axe to prove how confident he was that the elevator was safe regardless of almost worst-case scenarios.
The doctor stationed in Antarctica that removed his own appendix. Goddamn.
Cliff Stoll, the cuckoo's egg, noticed weird traffic on his university servers. No one believed him that there was any risk occurring, ended up uncovering a major hacking attempt to steal missile designs and basically created internet security. I think it was missile designs. It's been a long time.
In 1888, Almond Brown Stroger, an undertaker, noticed he was losing a lot of business to the other undertaker in town. He found out that the other undertaker's wife was a telephone operator, and when she intercepted people asking to be connected to Stroger's funeral home, the operator would route the call to her husband's funeral home instead. 3 years later, Stroger patented the automatic teller exchange, a system which allowed telephone users to make calls without the need for human operators, single-handedly destroying an entire workforce. Imagine being so pissed off you don't just get someone fired, but remove their job from existence entirely.
The biggest FU I've seen till date.
James Clerk Maxwell was idolized by Einstein as being the father of modern physics. Not only did he formulate the classical theory of electromagnetic radiation, but just for shits and giggles he calculated exactly what Saturn's rings were made from using pure mathematics. It wasn't until Voyager 1 and 2 passed by and took photos in the early 80s did we get confirmation that Maxwell was right. He then calculated how to take a color photograph in 1855. This was then achieved in 1861 and is recognized as the first ever color photo album. He calculated exactly what Saturn's rings were made from using pure mathematics. It wasn't until Voyager 1 and 2 passed by and took photos in the early 80s did we get confirmation that Maxwell was right. Like, how would you even know where to begin with that?
Okay, I'm no astrophysicist, but this is what I found. He was 26 when he proved, mathematically, that the rings of Saturn could be neither solid nor made of liquid. The only form that would allow stable rotation was a collection of small rocks, which from Earth assumed the form of a solid ring.
Probably the time Nando Parado and Roberto Canessa decided they couldn't wait around any longer and legged it for 10 days across the Andes with no warm clothes, climbing gear, or food except some scraps of their dead friends stuffed into a sock. They finally found someone out in the middle of nowhere, Sergio Catalan, who rode horseback all night and then took a bus to get some help. The mountain climbers had come from the wreckage of a crashed plane that everyone had been looking for over 2 moons. They needed help for the other survivors who were injured and starving. They saved 14 of their friends. Nando Parado sounds like a Star Wars character.
Henry V3 couldn't get his way with the Pope, so he made the Church of England so he could do what he wanted. This man legit made his own damn religion, which millions still follow today just so he could cheat on his wife. Edit. He was already cheating on his wife. He wanted to divorce her to marry his mistress.
No, made his own damn religion, which millions still follow today, just so he could cheat on his wife and his fourth wife.
A man who was a tractor mechanic company owner made a good chunk of money and bought a Ferrari. He felt that the car wasn't as good as it could be, and it wasn't very comfortable, so he brought his complaints all the way to Enzo Ferrari, the owner of the company. Enzo insulted the man, saying a mere tractor mechanic didn't know how to make a sports car. That sparked a rivalry that lasts to this day. That man was Ferruccio Lamborghini. Et Enx, thanks to US/to Dead 755 and US/King Chameleon 7 for correcting me.
Not a very old story. Manji, or the Mountain Man, lived in a very remote village of India whose route to nearby was blocked a mountain, and hence villagers had to climb it every time, and they had to do that daily to get essential supplies. During one of these trips, his wife fell down the mountain. He loved her a lot. He tried first to persuade the Guft to do a mountain tunnel project there, but to vain. So he went on alone to break the entire mountain with just an axe. He did that for 10 years and finally succeeded. There is a Bollywood movie on him too, titled Mayanshi, the Mountain Man.
When Julius Caesar decided to just up an effing march into Rome to declare himself the military leader.
Julius Caesar is the Aga Fukit.
Beckett.
When Nintendo turned down a collab with Sony, then Sony said, and Sony said, we'll do it ourselves. The rest is history.
To be fair, I think it's great they did. Nintendo and Sony are so different, there's plenty of room for both.
Nintendo occupies a niche that I don't think they'll ever lose. Sony and Microsoft are locked in a never-ending war, yet Nintendo will always have their niche. Doesn't really matter who wins the console war. Nintendo will claim second place.
During the American Revolution, John Paul Jones sailed over to England to burn down British naval ships. He succeeded, of course, and made back safely. After the Revolution, he was even pardoned by the town that he burned most of the ships in.
John Paul Jones was a madman, badass, and basically a pirate since he pillaged lots of villages too. Almost died a bunch. I think the pardon was in the 1990s.
They also named a US-guided missile destroyer after him, the US John Paul Jones. Also the name of the ship from the movie Battleship, but that's irrelevant.
I'm surprised no one's mentioned Catherine the Great of Russia. She decided her husband was useless, which, granted, he was, and proceeded to set up a military coup to overthrow him. Even with the plan being discovered early, she dressed herself in military garb and marched with her new army, which had just sworn loyalty to her, down to Peter's palace, where he was forced to resign the throne, all without a single drop of bloodshed. At least until Peter turned up dead sometime later under shady circumstances. But honestly, for a military coup, it was pretty non-violent. If saying, fuck it, I'm ruling Russia myself. Myself it, I don't know what is. I mean, it's right there next to her name for a reason.
Desmond Doss single-handedly saved from 50 to 100 men up on Hacksaw Ridge in Okinawa. His company was ordered to retreat when they were attacked by the Japanese, but instead, he set them unarmed and dragged as many soldiers as he could to safety without any help, and dragged as many soldiers as he could to safety without any help. Even when he was shot by a sniper and riddled with shrapnel, he made sure they took another guy down the hillside before him. Edit. I'm aware there is a movie. I've read about him before, and I know he's done more than just what is in the movie. I just didn't want to make a 3,000-word post about the many ways this guy is amazing.
The guy who started FedEx wrote a college paper about a nationwide overnight shipping company and got a C, started the company anyways. Later, after he started it, and it was struggling, he couldn't get a loan and the company was almost bankrupt, and he bet next week's payroll at the casino on roulette and won. Also got a silver star in the Vietnam War, and now co-owns the Washington Redskins, the latter often viewed as the biggest failure in his life.
George Clooney bought his own spy satellite to prove the alleged crimes of an African warlords because nobody else would.
Leo Major, he liberated an entire village from Nazis by himself. He's one of the handful of super badass soldiers you sometimes hear about from Planet W2.
Lee Roy Jenkins.
The dude in the war with wounded fingers. A doctor wouldn't amputate them, so he bit them off himself.
Closest I can think of is Erwin Rommel during the Blitzkrieg, seeing an opportunity to make an exploit, and instead of waiting, said F it, and charged 200 miles into French territory.
Claire Lemlish taking the stage at a union meeting in 1909 to declare a general strike after the older male union leaders told the working girls that there really wasn't a point in striking and it would be too hard, just be patient and deal with it. So 20-year-old Claire interrupts them, climbs up on the stage, and shouts at the crowd that she's tired of just talk. Time to strike, and everyone went for it. Instant agreement of the workers. Wow, this got some attention, so editing to add that I dug up my old research. A translation of what she said originally in Yiddish was, I have listened to all the speeches and I have listened to all the speeches and I have no further patience for talk. I too have worked and suffered, and I am tired of talk. I move that we go on general strike, now.
Seward's decision to buy Alaska from Russia.
Let's not forget that Isaiah C. Newton ran out of math to work with and was like his I guess I'll just invent calculus then.
Alexander the Great solving the Gordian knot by cutting it with his sword.
Hannibal of Carthage deciding to take his army over the Alps includes war elephants.
Wasn't there, that Russian? Of course he was Russian. Doctor that did stomach surgery on himself with only a bottle of vodka for anesthetic.
Martine Rothblatt, founder of SiriusXM and Unbelievable Polymath, was told her daughter Genesis had 3 months to live. She'd been diagnosed with a type of pulmonary arterial hypertension, which was fatal. The disease causes too much pressure in the blood vessels leading from the heart to the lungs, causing them to narrow and not carry enough oxygen. So Rothblatt quit all of her other work and went to the library to save her dog. Even though she had zero background in the field, she figured out a cure and in the process founded United Therapeutics, which is a billion-dollar biotechnology company. Though Blatt's life story is amazing.
The story of calculus.
When Pedro Carrano realized Jobu wasn't going to help him hit a damn curveball.
Lamborghini building cars, because F. Ferrari.
The Soviet woman that lost her husband to the Nazis sold everything and to pay for a tank with the request that she gets to drive it to fight Nazis. Go read up about Maria Oktyabrskaya on Wikipedia.
When Princess Vespa's hair got singed,